Welcome back to the Winner's Circle. I am here today with an honored guest, Harshit Kholi. He is a all-star judge for 2025 in our awards programs. He is also a senior technical account manager with AWS. So welcome, Harshit, and thank you so much for judging our programs, and congratulations on being an all-star judge.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you for all the efforts and all the motivation you have been giving for the past few years. Thank you.
It's great to have you on the team, somebody of your expertise. And today I'm really interested in all the AI stuff going on personally. I'm using it all over the place. And there's this new term coming around called MCP. I always tell people, I don't remember what it stands for, but it stands for like Machine Context Protocol, something like that. But I figured who better to kind of go deep on this than Harshit, one of our judges. So give us a little explanation of kind of what MCP is in this, AI world and what it does.
Sure. Why not? So before I start with the MCP, I think you already introduced me, but a little bit of my background. So I'm working for Amazon Web Services as a senior technical account manager and also a streaming specialist. So I've been in the IT organization for about 15 plus years now, and I've seen all those words. As we're discussing about the new era of this generation, which is AI, and within AI right now, the most hot topic is MCP. So let me help you understand what MCP is. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's like an open protocol which can help the standardization of applications, right? So it can help you provide context to LLMs. So imagine it in a way. So let's say you have AI systems and you have a lot of things around it, like databases or documents and all those things, right? So it can help enable the communication between those AI systems and locally running MCP servers, which can expose like those resources like documents or databases or tools or anything, right? So earlier what used to happen is for all those things you need to have separate connections, you need to access them separately. But now MCP can run, or let's say if you have a locally running MCP server, it can give you or it can expose all those additional tools and resources, and it can help the AI systems to better communicate with those systems.
I almost explain to people it's kind of like an API.
Yeah.
A lot of people know what APIs are.
Yeah. Yep.
But buzzword jargon over here.
Yep.
It's kind of like an API for agents or
Yep.
for AI.
Yep, exactly. So the way it works is, so let's understand it in a 3-step process, right? So first step is your MCP servers, they are running locally on your machine somewhere, right? So let's say they are running locally, and what they are doing is by running locally, they are providing the access to the tool, resources, the documents, prompts to LLMs, right? And then the third step is they're standardizing the interface, right? So what it means is any MCP compatible client can use those MCP servers. So let's say if I talk about my PostgreSQL database. Now, if my PostgreSQL database is compatible with that MCP server, my MCP server can help my AI systems or LLMs to access that Postgres database using the MCP server.
Yeah, and it's really powerful because you start connecting systems together.
Yes.
And so you can connect data points together, you connect tools together.
Yeah.
It's almost that hub and spoke kind of architecture,
right.
Where it's able to pull in. And as a novice user, I'm clearly behind you. I use Claude a lot from Anthropic. Happens to be down today. Not a good day for Claude. Good problem to have. Probably just a little busy.
Yep.
But you can even connect it to your Windows machine, and so now your Windows or your Apple laptop or computer becomes a resource for the AI, and so it can now use the resources on your computer that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah, exactly.
and so like for me, it was really cool because now I needed information out of a database. There was no export function, which I usually look for.
Right.
And the developer team for the software said, well, you just need to go through the API.
Right.
And as a marketing, sales marketing and executive, it's like, how do I do that?
Yeah, I mean,
but with this MCP and Claude, it was very easy. now,
Yes,
right? It used the tools, through that MCP connection. It used the tools that I didn't know I had on my Windows laptop, like
correct.
PowerShell and stuff like that, to go and do the work.
Yes, correct. And there are a lot of benefits added to this. So these are reusable. So let's say you have one MCP server, and that could work with any compatible AI tool, right? That's the biggest benefit. Then it is secure. So as I told you, it's, let's say you are running locally it on your machine. So you're using your own username, your own set of permissions to operate with that, right? And then third, it is extensible as well. So let's say if you want to add new capabilities, if you want to extend the functionalities, you can do that as well. It's not that it's hard code, whatever is written, whatever has been configured is configured. But on top of that, it also gives you extensions. You can extend the capabilities as well. And finally, it's standardized. And the way I say standardized is there is no vendor lock-in, which is the best part. It's not that, okay, if I'm using an MCP server, I can only connect to X things, whereas Y things are not allowed. It doesn't work that way. So there is no vendor lock-in, which is the best part. You can extend, it's secure. So that's why a lot of folks are moving towards MCP nowadays.
Yeah, so you obviously work with a lot of these larger
Yep.
enterprise customers. What are some of the use cases that you're seeing? This is very early days.
Yep.
Everybody's, as far as I can tell, everybody's kind of taken a step back. They had all these little projects everywhere that were kind of, AI burning fires all over the organization. And most organizations now have started to flatten
Mhm.
that, give the tools, and they're kind of looking at it from a more strategic view to say, where
Right.
does AI fit now? It seems like that's what's happening. So what are the use cases that you're seeing for MCP and this new technology?
Yeah, so I'll take a step back here. I'll go 2 years or 1.5 years back when people were still figuring out or started to work with knowledge bases. At that time, knowledge bases was a wonderful thing where people think that, okay, if you define a knowledge base and you have your application, you point your application to that knowledge base, you can read pretty much whatever is there in the knowledge base. So now MCP can sit on the top of your knowledge base, and using your MCP server, you can easily use your knowledge bases, which is a common classic kind of a use case for all the customers. So whatever new use cases now in today's world, what the customers are building in, everything is going via that MCP server. So whether it's a SharePoint knowledge base, whether it's a database knowledge base, whether it's a file system knowledge base, whatever it is going via that MCP server. That's the number one. And then I'll say file system operations. So let's say if you want to have some extended file manipulation, search, monitoring, that also is being used via MCP servers now. And then the third and the most important what I've seen is the custom business logic, because whatever customer you work with, let's say you work with customer A versus B versus C, everybody will have their own custom business logic or custom business solution. So working with each of those customers on separate business logics is totally a different kind of a challenge, and that's where MCP is also fitting into the play, because you're able to like expose company specific tools or data sources to AI assistants using those MCP servers, and that's where implementing those custom business logic is very helpful using MCP servers now.
Can you give us an example of maybe, without any names, of
Hmm.
course, of, kind of a project that you're working on where you kind of, enabled that MCP connection, and then kind of tell us, walk us through kind of what it did and kind of the efficiency that you gained out of it?
Yeah, so maybe I'll talk about one of the use cases which I'm going to present in the next MCP Dev Summit in April. So it's more around the real-time context AI. So a lot of times what happens is whenever you are working as a developer, you are, let's say, writing code, and then suddenly some kind of a functionality change. So what happens is the cycle repeats. Like you get the new kind of feature, you make changes to the code, and then you redeploy, re-release, and do all those things again, right? So this is where real-time MCP servers or the real-time context using MCP server can help you, because then you can make changes on the fly to your code, and then you can deploy it directly so that you don't have to wait for that entire cycle, right? That is one of the common use cases. And then unified AI experiences is another big thing. So for example, you use one AI assistant across all your tools and resources, right? And this is a pain point for the customer. With all these new AI things coming around, let's say you use agents, you use knowledge bases, or you use RAG. So there are multiple things floating around right now, and as we are talking about, there are new evolutions happening, right? So for organizations to have a unified AI experience is a big challenge, and that is where I think a lot of customers are also moving towards MCPs, because they can use that one AI assistant across all their tools and their data without juggling with multiple tools, making it tougher for their teams.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to somebody last night at dinner. We were talking about automations, and he was using Copilot, and I've been using Claude, and Claude has the MCP connections. And his mind was kind of blown. I'm like, oh yeah, you can connect to
Yep.
all your systems.
Yep.
He's like, well, I just don't know how to do all that. I'm like, you don't have to know how to do it. You just give it your key.
Yes, exactly. Yep. I mean, integration wise, it's super cool, because you can connect your AI to internal systems like ERP, CRM, marketing, ticketing, monitoring, sales, and then you can give it a single sort of access using those MCP servers, and then you can pretty much restrict defining permissions around it. So it's pretty powerful, and I'll say the more and more it is getting used, people are realizing and customers are realizing the value behind it.
Now, you do a lot of speaking, and you've got a talk coming up on
Yep.
model exploration.
Yep.
There's this concept that you talk a lot about streaming AI systems. Talk us
Yes.
through the difference between kind of what we normally know about AI systems and these streaming systems.
So streaming. First of all, I'll mention about the talk which is coming up. So we have a MCP Dev Summit which is coming up around the Easter weekend. So I'm going to deliver a talk over there. My session will be around MCP live streaming context to AI agents, right? And very well asked question, like how is the streaming connected to the MCPs, and the reason why streaming and the AI agents and the MCPs are connected to each other is because streaming is all about real time data, right? So when we talk about real time data, what it means is, I mean, request and response model will be there, where AI will ask for context, right? And whenever it needs it, right? So basically what will happen is you have continuous streaming where context flows to AI proactively, right, as events are occurring. So let's say you consider a log file and the logs are getting appended to that, right? So as and when the logs are appending to that file in real time, it will always, like, there will be context flows happening, and AI has to proactively adopt that file and then answer based on that real time events, right? So real time monitoring and alerting is a classic use case here, and that's where my talk will be about. It will be containing like the real time monitoring and alerting mechanism, and also the live development assistance. So for example, the stream code changes, test results will differ based on the stream code changes, your build status will also change, right? And AI will provide instant feedback, right? So let's say you're writing a code, something changes, AI assistant will on the fly in live environment provide you feedback on errors, suggestions, and then refactoring the code again. So example could be like, for example, AI detects breaking changes across files in real time, right? So this is one of the classic use cases which we can demonstrate in this talk.
What's interesting to me is there's a whole new layer of security you've got to think about with the streaming systems. It's no longer prompt injections. Right. These are new attacks.
Right.
What kind of patterns have you seen with the streaming on, kind of attacking those models?
So the key security challenges which I have seen right now is the continuous data exposure. That is one of the key security challenge, and then authentication authorization, which you were referring, to be very honest, right? And then data in transit, because streaming data is vulnerable to interception over network, right? So what happens is the risk could be man in the middle attack, right? That's one of the classic kind of challenges which can happen, right? And then access control is also one of the other things, right? So for example, AI agent is receiving continuous stream of potential sensitive kind of events, right? So how you will define the access control so that the agent is not getting access by the incorrect methods or incorrect access, right? So that's also one of the things. And then you also should have a need to track the data when it is streamed, and when you need to access the data. So like it's more about audit and compliance. So for example, the system is going fine, but there is a need to go back in time and do an auditing and to find out, okay, who accessed what stream, who accessed what agent, what was the compliance. So all those things are pretty important as well, right? So I think handling those challenges is becoming super critical, and best practices around that could be tied around. For example, you can have a zero trust architecture, right? You can verify every stream connection and event as well, and then you can set up like minimal source kind of a thing, just to make sure that you have a minimal scope. You can stream only when necessary. You should not stream when it's not required. And then monitoring is a key aspect to it. A lot of times I've seen that enterprises and customers do set up these kind of streaming contexts, but monitoring is lagging behind. So now is the time when people should understand that monitoring is just not a helping hand. It's like one of the main key pillars of your organization, because the more you monitor, the better you monitor. That's how you will be able to tighten the security around these AI agents.
Yeah, and I was watching a talk yesterday from Mo World Congress from Nokia about transport for all these AI networks. And it's really interesting because I don't think people understand that, there's terabytes of data
Right.
moving through these systems, and especially now these streaming systems. What makes that kind of real-time inference fundamentally different from that kind of the batch AI workloads that, we started seeing?
So batch and real-time data are kind of massively different to each other, and it all depends upon the customers or the need of the customer. So I have worked with multiple customers where they start with batch data and then the organization completely shifts towards the real-time data. So I will give you sort of examples of two use cases. Now consider that you are extracting the data from, let's say, your RDBMS systems, and then you're writing that data to a particular system, right? Now, this read and write could be real time, but it's not always supposed to be in real time. So this could be completely in batch, because you will load the data in batches and then you will write the data in batches, right? Which is completely okay. Now, a real time need could come in a situation where you have transactions occurring. So, for example, you have a banking transaction, right? You have a health monitoring kind of a setup where you have devices which are monitoring the patient's health in real time, right? Or you have a payment gateway. Now, these things cannot happen in batch. Once these things happen in batch, you are done and dusted, because nobody's going to rely your software then. So that is where there is a massive difference which is occurring between like the batch and the real time. And the amount of data we have seen with real time is massive. It is in terabytes, petabytes, right? And there have to be systems defined which can scale, read the data, write the data with that same speed. And that is where systems like Kafka, Flink, all these things play into effect, because you have to have the systems which can read at that speed, do the analytics on top of the data at that speed, and then write it to multiple destinations at that speed, right? So that is like a clear winner between a batch versus a real time. So it entirely depends upon the use case and the kind of how the customer wants the use case to differ.
Well, and you see all of them.
Yes. Yep.
I think you said AI turns cloud data from storage into action. What's like the most surprising use case that you've seen in kind of an AWS customer environment? Again, no names, please.
Yeah. So if I talk about AI turning storage into action, as I was talking about, a very good use case was around utilizing knowledge bases. So I have seen some logistics company which are using the data which is stored in their buckets. Let's say they have a million of documents which are stored in the buckets, right? And now they want to analyze those million of documents within the bucket, and they want to run the machine learning algorithms on top of them. They want to find out, okay, out of these documents, how much was the standard cost which was paid to my vendor, or how many products got sold most, or how many were the least products sold. So all these kind of analysis based on the million files which are stored on storage, you can run analytics on top of it, and then AI can smartly give you those kind of predictions telling you that a product is the best product or the most hit product you have ever sold of the past couple of years, and you can do these many number of things to make it more marketable, right? So not only it is going to just read the data, it is also going to analyze the data, find out what is the performance of product A versus product B, and then give insights on how the product can be improved versus other products.
Yeah, and it's a constant iterative approach.
Yep.
It's not repeat, it's just
Correct.
constant.
Exactly.
If you're looking 5 years ahead, what part of that enterprise architecture do you think goes away?
Goes away.
Yeah,
I will
disappears.
definitely say like the development work is going to reduce a lot, to be honest. I mean, again, no offenses to all the developers we have. We have brilliant developers in the market. But now the developers' productivity will be channelized into different forms. So, for example, the developers were investing their 90% of the time in development. But going forward, as AI is evolving and more products are coming, developers will be more involved with writing less lines of code versus doing more of functional testing, integration testing, and launching the products in a more faster fashion. So that is number one. The second is I am almost sure that these kind of legacy systems which are hosted on, like, let's say, Apache or Tomcat, these might go away because uh, I mean, these applications are hard to modernize. So let's say if an application is running on Java 8 on one of the Tomcat applications, in order to modernize that, you'll have to bring down the Tomcat server, modernize the application, change the whole code, and then redeploy, retest, do all those things. Now, all those things can be dealt with very quickly and very effectively using multiple AI tools. So that is where I see a lot of reduced work happening in terms of transformation and modernization efforts as well.
I can't imagine how many Apache servers there are out there. I think at one point it was 80% of the internet or something, 20
Yeah,
years ago.
and 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 there
It's
still will
amazing how
be.
fast it
Yeah,
changed, huh?
yeah, and people are still going to use it in the future. It's not that it's going to go completely away, but the rapid pace at which you are going to upgrade your current application on those Apache servers is going to reduce drastically. Earlier you were taking, let's say, 6 months to upgrade an application, modernize an application. Now it's just a matter of few hours.
Yeah. How do you see the private LLMs kind of evolving as companies push into kind of having more control and kind of managing risk?
Private LLMs, I think, is more of kind of a decision from the customers oriented kind of a vision. So, again, there are customers who are more inclined towards insurance vertical, healthcare verticals. I think to them, private LLMs might attract a bit of more kind of those kind of customers because uh, for them, data is the key point. They don't want to expose their data, they don't want to share their data, and that is where using private LLMs could solve their purpose because security and permission handling is key to them. So in terms of performance or in terms of capability, I don't see a major difference because whatever is there with the open LLMs, private LLMs sooner or later will be launching the similar features because as there will be a parity gap, right? And the customers will not adapt those LLMs then.
Now, you've talked with tons of leaders, you've been a mentor to tons of people. What's one misconception about AI that you wish everybody would let go of?
The biggest misconception is that AI is going to take everybody's job. And that I feel is not true if we are able to upscale, if we are able to adapt. Because what I have seen in my past 1.5 years of experience seeing AI in action, that every field, whether it is marketing, HR, IT, legal, promotion, whatever, you name the field, and AI is there in bits and pieces. And there are use cases where you can implement AI within that space. So it's all about upscaling yourself, getting to know your vertical in a much deeper sense, and understanding how can I implement AI in this vertical. So, and the moment you understand that, the moment you know that, it's fairly straightforward. And people who are saying that, okay, AI will take away jobs,